Get out. I don't care where you go. You won't disrespect my house again." She was yelling, loud. I didn't say a word, just grabbed the rent receipt and handed it to her. "Before we dive into the story, let me ask you something. Have you ever been so disrespected by someone who had no idea how much you were sacrificing for them? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've ever kept the peace just to keep a roof over someone else's head, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. 2 months earlier, Plano, Texas. It was the smell of strong coffee and fried eggs that usually woke me. But that morning it was the voice. Her voice. Loud, sharp, already complaining about something. I stayed in bed a few seconds longer, hoping she'd stop. She didn't. I lived in my husband's childhood home. Big brick 2-story. Gated neighborhood. Looked like we had it all. But behind that front door, it was me, my husband Jordan, and his mother, Denise. Jordan had suggested it. "We'll save money," he said. "Help her out," he said. "She's family." What he didn't say was that his mom didn't like me. Denise never called me by my name. She said things like, "Jordan's wife," or "that girl." She'd move my things in the bathroom, comment on how I folded laundry, slam cabinets if I used the wrong frying pan. Little things. All day. Every day. We'd been married a year, and I was tired, but I stayed quiet. Because we were saving. Because I didn't want to cause drama. Because I had something bigger in mind. What Jordan didn't know, I had taken on a new remote job. Freelance copywriting. Social media contracts. Paid well. Really well. Quiet money. Clean money. And every month, I wired $4,800 to the landlord. In full. Early. Alone. I never told Denise. Never told Jordan either. They thought he was splitting it with me. He wasn't. And I didn't care at first. I didn't need applause. I just wanted peace. But peace doesn't live where pride does. That afternoon, Denise hosted her sister for lunch. They sat at the dining table, loud and laughing. I walked in to grab my laptop charger. Denise didn't even pause. Her sister turned. "Oh, is this Jordan's girl?" Denise smiled. "Yep. She stays here with us. Still finding her feet. Still finding her feet." I wanted to speak up, but I didn't. I just nodded, smiled politely, and walked out. My ears burned the whole way upstairs. That night I cooked dinner. Chicken Alfredo. Garlic bread. I made enough for everyone. Denise walked into the kitchen. Looked at the stove. Then at me. "Jordan doesn't really like Alfredo," she said. "You might have known that if you paid attention." I swallowed hard. "I asked him last night. He said it sounded good." She raised an eyebrow. "Well, this is my house. We usually eat lighter. Not all this heavy sauce stuff." I nodded. Bit my tongue. Served her plate anyway. There are some things you don't say, not because you're weak, but because you're watching. And I had been watching. That night, I logged into my bank account. The rent had already cleared. Again. $4,800 gone. Denise didn't pay it. Jordan didn't either. But she still had the nerve to call it her house. That was the night I started keeping copies of every payment. Printed them. Filed them. Labeled them with dates. Not because I needed proof, but because I had a feeling. One day, she was going to forget who was really keeping that roof over her head. And when that day came, I was going to remind her. And just 2 weeks later, she said the words that turned our whole house upside down. It was a Sunday evening. The air smelled like rain, even though it hadn't fallen yet. I had just come back from Target, picked up paper towels, coffee pods, and a scented candle I knew Denise liked. The moment I walked through the door, I knew something was wrong. Jordan sat on the couch, silent, remote in hand. TV on mute. Denise stood by the kitchen island, arms crossed, lips tight. I froze. "What's going on?" I asked. Denise spoke first. "We need to talk." I dropped the bag by the stairs. "Okay. About what?" She walked closer. "I don't like how you've been treating this house." the tone you use, the way you move around like you own it. I blinked. Excuse me? You leave lights on. You take long showers. You slam cabinets. This is my house, and I'm tired of the disrespect. Jordan said nothing, just looked down. Denise stepped even closer. I've put up with you long enough, but this is where I draw the line. I stared at her. Are you kicking me out? She didn't flinch. I think it's best you pack a bag and go stay somewhere else, at least until you learn some respect. Couldn't believe it. No warning, no conversation, just a decision she made, like I was some unwanted guest. She had no idea who she was talking to, and I had stayed silent for far too long. I didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't throw anything. I just walked upstairs, slowly, quietly, packed a duffel bag, toothbrush, hoodie, phone charger. But before I zipped it up, I reached under the bed, pulled out a black folder. Inside, printed receipts, every rent payment, every confirmation, every date. I walked back down. Jordan was still on the couch, frozen. Denise stood in the doorway like she'd already won, like she was proud. I handed her the folder. She looked confused. What's this? Receipts, I said. For the last 4 months' rent. She opened it. Read the first page. Then the next. Her face changed. Confusion. Shock. Silence. I've been paying the full rent, I said. Every month. Quietly. On time. She looked at Jordan. Is this true? He nodded. I didn't know it was all her. I thought we were splitting it. I just let her handle it. The air felt still, like the whole house had stopped breathing. Denise whispered, I didn't know. I looked her straight in the eyes. I know you didn't, because you never asked. You just assumed. It's wild how people treat you when they think you bring nothing to the table. And even wilder how fast they shrink when they find out you were the one keeping the lights on the whole time. If you've ever been overlooked, silenced, or made small, this story's for you. And if you're still listening, you know this isn't over. I turned to Jordan. I'm leaving tonight. Don't call me unless you figure out who you are in this. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Denise still clutched the folder. Speechless, I walked out the door, bag over my shoulder. No ride, no plan, just peace and power. She thought she'd kicked me out, but really, I set myself free. I sat on the curb down the street. No tears, no regrets, just one question circling in my mind. How many people in this world are walking around thinking they run everything, when they don't even know who's paying the bills? That was the question, and the answer was coming soon. Pride doesn't go away quietly, and Denise? She was about to make things messier before they got better. I spent the night at a cheap hotel off Highway 75. Room 208. Smelled like old cologne and Windex. The walls were thin, but I didn't care. For the first time in months, no one slammed cabinets. No one gave side comments. No one made me feel small. Just me. And quiet. The next morning, my phone buzzed. 12 messages. All from Jordan. Babe, can we talk? I didn't know it'd go like that. My mom feels awful. Please come home. I didn't answer. I needed space. And they needed a mirror. Meanwhile, back at the house, Denise was pacing. She had taken the folder. She had read the receipts. But she hadn't said a word about them. She made dinner that night. Set the table like normal. As if nothing had happened. Jordan sat across from her, fork in hand. You're really not going to talk about it? He asked. She didn't look up. I overreacted. That's all. Jordan exhaled. She was paying the entire rent, Mom. You kicked her out like she was nothing. Denise finally spoke. Well, maybe if she told someone, we wouldn't be here. It's easier to blame silence than to face the noise you made. 3 days passed. I stayed gone. Checked into a co-working space near downtown. Worked quietly. Picked up 2 new contracts. Money was flowing. But I wasn't chasing revenge. I was chasing peace. On day 4, Jordan showed up at the hotel. He stood outside the room, flowers in hand. Cheap ones. gas station type. Still, I opened the door. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped aside. Let him in. He sat at the small desk. I sat on the edge of the bed. He looked nervous. "I messed up. I should have stood up for you. I was scared of choosing between you and my mom." I stared at him. "And what about choosing yourself?" He didn't answer. "She's been controlling you your whole life," I said. "And I get it. That kind of thing doesn't just turn off." He nodded slowly. "But you," he paused. "You didn't even tell me you were paying all of it." I folded my hands. "Because I didn't do it for credit, Jordan. I did it for us. Sometimes silence isn't hiding. It's protecting. But the moment it's broken, truth has to stand up and speak." "I want to come back," he said. "But things have to change." I looked him in the eye. "You're not ready, and that's okay. But I'm not stepping back into a house that won't protect me." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I just don't know how to fix it." I stood. "You don't. That's the part people forget. Sometimes the fix isn't yours. Sometimes the space is." I didn't go back. Not that week. Not the one after. Instead, I started looking for my own place. No noise. No permission needed. Just mine. And in that space, I wasn't just healing. I was rebuilding. But just when I thought I was done with that house, something pulled me back. Something I didn't see coming. It was a Tuesday morning when my phone rang. I was sitting in a small coffee shop near downtown Dallas. The smell of burnt espresso and lemon muffins filled the air. I had just submitted a contract and was feeling halfway okay for the first time in weeks. Then the call came. It was Jordan. His voice sounded off. "Can you come to the house?" he asked. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I paused. "Why?" "It's my mom," he said. "She collapsed this morning. Ambulance took her in. She's home now, but she's not doing well." I didn't say anything. Not at first. I felt cold. Not angry, just tired. "Why me?" I asked quietly. "Because she asked for you." I sat still for a full minute after we hung up. Then I closed my laptop, tossed my charger in my bag, and drove back to that house. The driveway looked the same. The shrubs. The porch light still out. It had only been 2 weeks, but it felt like years. I knocked once. Jordan opened the door. Denise was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. Eyes puffy, hair undone. She looked small. For the first time ever, she didn't look like someone in control. She just looked like someone hurting. I stood in the doorway. She looked up. "I didn't know who else to call," she said. "I figured if anyone would come, it'd be you." I didn't move, didn't smile. I just said, "You were right." She blinked. "What?" "You said I acted like I owned this house." "You were right. Because for a while I kind of did." She looked away. That wasn't payback. That was honesty. And sometimes they sound the same. Jordan handed me a bottle of water. "Can you sit with her for a bit while I pick up her prescription?" I hesitated, then nodded. 10 minutes later he was gone. And it was just me and her. The silence in that living room felt thicker than ever. No TV. No clinking dishes. Just the soft hum of the ceiling fan. Denise finally spoke. "I wasn't kind to you." I didn't respond. She kept going. "I thought I was protecting my son. But really, I was just afraid of losing control." I looked at her. "I wasn't trying to take your son. I was trying to build something with him. Something solid." Denise wiped her eyes. "You did more than that. You kept us afloat. And I threw you out anyway." We sat in silence again. No yelling. No sarcasm. Just 2 women, tired of fighting different battles under the same roof. Have you ever been stuck with someone who made you feel too much? Someone who broke you down and still found a way to need you? Tell me your story. I'm listening. Jordan returned an hour later. We didn't say much. I helped set up her meds. Warmed some soup. I didn't stay the night. But I left with something I didn't expect to feel. Not forgiveness, but a crack in the wall. Sometimes the strongest shift doesn't happen through apology. It happens through presence. That night, I sat in my new apartment. 1 bedroom, clean floors, a view of nothing special. And yet, It was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I slept like I wasn't being watched. But just when I started to exhale, the truth I'd been avoiding came knocking. The peace didn't last, because secrets have a way of rising. And I was about to find out. I wasn't the only one holding one. It was a week later when the storm rolled in, not from the sky, but from something deeper. It started with a letter, a thin, white envelope, dropped off at my apartment by a courier. No stamp, no name, just my name in handwriting I didn't recognize. I opened it. Inside was a typed message. Short, cold, precise. If you're going to take credit for paying everything, maybe you should also take credit for where the money really came from. I froze. There was a screenshot, partial bank transfer, a name on it I hadn't seen in years. My father's. He and I hadn't spoken in almost a decade. Not since he walked out on my mother and vanished into his second life. But somehow, his name was now tied to one of the deposits in my account. A large one. The first one. The one that had helped me cover that very first rent payment. I stared at it for a long time. I had always thought I built everything from scratch. Every dollar. Every contract. Every win. But now, this single receipt made it feel like I'd been living in a lie. I called the bank. Confirmed the transfer. It had come from a private account, 2 months before I even moved in with Jordan. I had never noticed it. Never asked. I just assumed it was a client payment. Sometimes the truth doesn't scream. It whispers through the cracks, until your whole story starts to tilt. That night I called my mother. She picked up on the second ring. "Did Dad send me money?" I asked. There was a pause, then a sigh. "Yes," she said. "He asked me not to tell you. He heard about your wedding. Said he just wanted to help." Quietly. I was shaking now. "So the foundation I thought I built wasn't really mine?" She softened her voice. "You still built the house. But yeah, part of the concrete came from him." I sat in silence. All the pride I carried, all the power I thought I had, shaken. Not erased, but shaken. The next day I saw Jordan. I told him everything. His face shifted. "You thought you were the only one hiding something?" he asked. I looked at him. "What does that mean?" He sat down, pulled out his phone, opened a message thread. With Denise. Dates. Conversations. Screenshots. She had been pushing him to ask me to sign a prenup. Not before the wedding. After. She thought once we got married, we could trick you into signing something that would keep your money separate, he said. She didn't think you'd ever be the one bringing in more than me. I felt like the room tilted. "You were going to do it?" I asked. He shook his head. "I couldn't. But I didn't stop her either. I didn't tell you because I was scared of losing you." I stood. "That's the thing, Jordan. You already started losing me the second you made me feel alone in your mother's house." He didn't speak, and I didn't wait for him to. "You ever think you're holding your world together, only to find out someone was shaking the floor beneath you the whole time? You ever carry the weight, the silence, the blame, only to realize you weren't the only one keeping secrets? If that's hit you before, you know why this story matters. I didn't call Denise. I didn't send her the letter. Didn't bring up the prenup. I just packed a small bag and took a trip. I drove 6 hours to Houston to see the man I hadn't spoken to in almost 10 years. I met him in a diner off I-45. He looked older, softer, ashamed. He stood when I walked in. I didn't hug him, just sat down. "You sent me money," I said. He nodded. "I didn't want you to struggle," he said. "I didn't know how to fix what I broke. So, I just tried to help quietly." I swallowed hard. I needed the truth more than the money. Sometimes people give you what they can, but not what you need. I left Houston that night. No closure, no healing hug, just truth. And that was enough for now. By the time I got back to Dallas, the clouds had lifted. Literally, the rain had passed. But inside me, something else had broken open. Not sadness, not shame, just space. And in that space I finally saw myself, not as someone trying to prove anything, but as someone ready to start over, fully seen. But starting over isn't always clean. Because just when you think the damage is done, the heart asks one more question. Do I still love him? I didn't plan to see Jordan again. Not after the truth. Not after Houston. But life has a way of pulling us back to what we haven't finished. He showed up outside my apartment. No call. No text. Just him. Standing there with a brown paper bag and tired eyes. I brought Thai food, he said. I remember you used to crave it when you were overwhelmed. I didn't smile, but I let him in. We ate in silence. The kitchen light buzzed softly above us. The air felt heavy, like a storm waiting to drop. After dinner, I asked, "Why did you let her talk to me like that for so long?" He looked down at his plate. I was afraid. Afraid of what? I asked. Losing her? Or losing control? He shook his head. Afraid of choosing wrong. I leaned back in my chair. She didn't just disrespect me. She disrespected us. And you watched it. Every single time. He didn't defend himself. And for the first time, that hurt more than if he had. Sometimes it's not what people say. It's what they let happen around you that breaks the trust. We sat on the couch. I asked the question I'd been pushing down for weeks. Did you ever really have my back? He looked at me, tired, honest. I wanted to, but I think I was still learning how to leave her shadow. I nodded slowly. I can't live in someone's shadow. I built my light. I earned it. I won't shrink to fit your family. Tears welled up in his eyes. Are you saying it's over? I looked at him for a long time. Then I whispered, I don't know if love is enough anymore. He didn't try to stop me, didn't beg. He just stood up and left. I sat there, quiet, still. My heart didn't feel broken. Felt tired. Tired of defending myself. Tired of being too much or not enough. Tired of trying to make a home in someone else's house. Have you ever walked away from someone? Not because you stopped loving them, but because staying meant losing yourself? Tell me below. Even one sentence. I want to know you're still here. I spent the next few days cleaning. Not the apartment, my life. I deleted old pictures. Cleared saved texts. Made room in my closet. Every little thing that no longer made me feel safe. I let it go. Healing doesn't always look brave. Sometimes it looks like standing in silence with a trash bag. And choosing you. On Saturday morning, a small envelope came under my door. Handwritten. No name. Inside was a note. If you ever need someone to say it, I'm sorry for everything. Denise. I stared at it for a while. No anger. Just something softer than I expected. That night, I sat by my window. No music. No distractions. Just the hum of Dallas outside and a calm I hadn't felt in months. I still didn't know what would happen with Jordan. Or with Denise. Or even with my father. But I knew this. I was done waiting for someone else to choose me. From now on, I was choosing myself. Healing doesn't start when the pain ends. It starts when you stop apologizing for surviving it. It had been 2 weeks since Jordan left my apartment. No calls. No texts. Just distance. But I didn't wait by the phone. Not this time. I started waking up early again. Making coffee slowly. Watering the plant on the windowsill I once forgot to care for. I said yes to more work. I went to a workshop at a community space in Deep Ellum. The flyer had said, How to Build Your Own Path. I showed up, sat in the back, took notes. There were other women there. One had just filed for divorce. Another had started a bakery from her kitchen. They spoke with hope and hurt in the same breath. I realized I belonged here, not because I was broken, but because I was building something new. One night, I got an email. It was from a podcast producer. She had read one of my blog posts online. The title? What They Never See. A Quiet Woman's Guide to Holding It All Together. She wanted to interview me. Said my story had weight. I didn't need a stage. But maybe my voice had waited long enough. The night before the podcast interview, I didn't rehearse. I lit a candle, turned off the lights, sat cross-legged on my living room rug. Outside, cars hummed past the windows. Inside, it was just me. I looked around at the walls. Plain, bare. but clean. The air didn't carry tension anymore. No footsteps I had to brace for. No kitchen cabinet slams. Just the sound of my breath. And the soft click of the fridge kicking on. I closed my eyes. Let the silence speak for me. Let it tell me, you made it. Not all the way, but far enough to feel the difference. And that was more than enough. The next day, I sat in front of a mic and told my story. Not the perfect version. Not the cleaned up one. Just the truth. By the end of the episode, I felt light. Not empty, just unburdened. When you finally tell your story out loud, you stop needing other people to carry it for you. Later that week, I got another note. This time from Denise. She had mailed it. Inside was a card. I hope your voice never shrinks again. Thank you for showing me what strength looks like. Denise. It didn't undo everything. But it said something I hadn't expected. She saw me now. Really saw me. That Sunday, I took myself out to brunch. No reason. No celebration. Just a quiet table by the window, warm pancakes, and peace. And sitting there, with the sun on my shoulders and no one else's voice in my ear, I smiled. Because I didn't need a new version of the old life, that I was building something better. Something that felt like home. Some love stories aren't about falling in love with someone else. They're about learning to love the one person you forgot mattered most. You. 3 months later, my life didn't look bigger, but it felt wider, like I finally had room to breathe. I had moved into a small townhouse on the east side of Dallas. Brick outside, 2 bedrooms, quiet street. The kind of place that didn't need to be explained, it just fit. I painted the walls myself. Hung photos of places I hadn't been yet. Stacked books in uneven piles. It wasn't perfect. But it was mine. Work picked up. I landed a long-term contract with a local nonprofit that I helped them rewrite every word on their website. On the side, I launched a newsletter, Quiet Women Still Carry Weight. First week, 16 subscribers. Week 5, almost 500. People wrote back. They shared their own stories, unseen labor, hard marriages, new beginnings. I didn't reply to every message, but I read every single one. Because sometimes, knowing someone heard you is the healing. Then one Friday afternoon I got a message. Not an email. Not a letter. A knock. I opened the door. It was Jordan. Older. Quieter. Holding nothing but keys and a folded envelope. I'm not here to stay, he said. I just wanted to give you this. I opened the envelope later that night. Inside was a note. Thank you for showing me what love looks like when it doesn't need to be loud to be real. I hope I learn how to deserve that version one day. J. I didn't cry. Didn't clutch the paper like a movie scene. I just nodded. Because I had already let go. With peace. Sometimes love doesn't leave with a door slam. Sometimes it walks out quietly. And you let it. A month later, I met someone new. Not a whirlwind. Not a spark. Just safe. He held doors open. Listened well. Didn't try to fix me. Just sat beside me in silence when I needed it. We weren't in love. But we were becoming. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. Denise never reached out again. But I didn't need her to. That note she sent? It was enough. Forgiveness didn't need to be a reunion. It just needed to be truth. Some nights, I still think about the old house. The kitchen. The tension. The quiet pain I used to breathe in like air. But then I roll over in bed. See the light on the wall from the lamp I picked myself. And I remember, I'm not there anymore. Some stories don't need a second chapter. They just need a clean page and a better pen. I threw a small dinner party on a Sunday. Just 4 people. Nothing fancy, roasted chicken, sparkling water, peach cobbler. We ate, laughed, and played soft jazz in the background. When they left, I stood in the doorway. Watched them drive off. And I whispered to myself, I'm not waiting anymore. Not for approval. Not for apologies. Not for the past to rewrite itself. That night, I sat at my desk. Typed up the final draft of my first ebook. Title, She Left Quietly. She Built Loudly. It was part memoir, part guide that I clicked publish. No fear and no noise. Just me choosing myself again. If you've ever rebuilt your life from the ground up with no cheer squad, no blueprint, and no safety net, if you've ever whispered, "I deserve better," and meant it, then you are the reason this story exists. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it for you. Not for this video. For the version of you that refuses to shrink again. Do you believe some people are worth the wait? Drop a heart in the comments if this story reminded you of your strength or someone else's. Because sometimes the greatest kind of love is the one we grow into, alone, free, and finally whole. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.